is reality. Reality is what we believe to be true about the nature of our surroundings. But how do we come to decide that true nature? Do we conceive it completely on our own? Or do other devices gently sway our thoughts onto a pre-decided path? This is the hard question we must all ask ourselves as free humans on this planet. Who sculpts your reality?
Reality. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another fine edition here of Reality Brief on this beautiful Wednesday evening.
What an evening we have.
So, you know, we got a pretty cool show for you guys tonight. We talk a lot about ancient megalithic sites and things of that nature on the show, and we put together one consisting of pre-Diluvian underwater structures, meaning more than 10, 12,000 years old. Lots of crazy stuff, and I think you'll be surprised some of the stuff we found. But, man, you hear about the latest chicken news?
Yeah, apparently a giant chicken has appeared. What will you do? Fight, run, item, spell.
So what happened with this chicken?
There's this giant chicken has appeared on the White House lawn, and it looks just like Trump. It's I guess an avatar of Trump in the form of a giant chicken.
That's pretty sweet, man. So what do you think they're doing that for?
Well, apparently this inflatable balloon thing, there was a statue built in China not too long ago that looks just like this. So, you know, it's obviously a political statement.
This can't be good, man.
No, it sounds like they're trying to provoke him into doing something.
The nuke's gonna go flying, man. Oh, you call me chicken? Nobody does chicken like Trump does chicken. Chicken, I'm not chicken, I'll show you
No,
chicken.
you know it would be awesome if Trump just opened a chicken restaurant, like a chain of chicken restaurants, in response to this.
Look at this. You can see the chicken in the back there. I mean, that's an ultimate troll. I like this.
Yeah, it's a clear and present troll.
But not good.
Right
not
there
good.
it says the puffed up poultry appears to be the same model that was created last year in China to celebrate the year of the rooster.
You know how Archduke Ferdinand was a jump off point?
Yeah.
Well,
the jump off point for World War III is a giant chicken.
It's a giant chicken that looks like Trump. Oh shit, guys.
I mean, you know, isn't that the kind of thing you'd expect? Like something ridiculous kicking off World War III?
Yeah, sure is. So, we've all heard about Stonehenge, right?
Yeah.
Heard about Stonehenge. Everybody knows the Circle of Stones in England. But did you know that there's a Stonehenge in the U.S.? And it's not just in the U.S. It's under Lake Michigan.
Really?
Yes.
That's pretty far out.
So, let me pull up the jam here. Basically, it was this guy. He was a professor at Michigan University, and he was hired to do deep sonar scans of the lake to where'd it go? Oh, my bad. Sorry, guys. To map out shipwrecks. Lost my train of thought there. So, what he discovered, though, was just... What are you laughing at?
You lose your train of thought.
Thanks. Appreciate it, man. What he discovered was these stones. And they're thought to be at least 10,000 years old because of their positioning, where they are, you know, in the lake. And there's a carving of a mastodon. I'm going to have to pull up this stuff for you guys.
It's pretty rad.
Oh, yeah. So prepared. Here we go. Gosh darn. Okay, so essentially here's the top down. And it's interesting. You could see the stones. It's not, the whole circle isn't there anymore. It's definitely gone, but you can see the remnants of it. And then in the middle, man, it's really strange in the middle, the triangles. I don't know if that's, something from the sonar process, or if that's something really there, because what we got here is this. I don't know if you guys can see that. Let me zoom it in for you.
Yeah, it looks like giant standing stones.
Mm-hmm. And then some more. So you can see the scuba diver checking it out there.
I guess back during the last ice age, all that stuff, those lakes wouldn't have been there yet. They would have just been valleys.
Now, they actually found this rock under there, too, that you could see a Macedon, on it. So, Lord knows what else is under there.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole Great Lakes could just be littered with stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
There's an island in the area called Beaver Island, and it's got all kinds of standing stones and things like that there as well. And it's pretty interesting. And, this one isn't quite as widely known as some of the other underwater megalithic sites. So, I mean, I guess they're not gigantic, but it's definitely, standing stones from at least 10,000 years old.
Yeah, somebody put them there. Far out.
Pretty interesting. So, what was quantum computing now?
Oh yeah, there was that thing about quantum computing might possibly destroy the world, or at the very least, it could be a destructive force and not so much a force for good. This is coming from Futurism.com, and headline reads: "World's leading physicist says quantum computers are tools of destruction, not creation." Quantum computers are heralded as the next step in the evolution of data processing. The future of this technology promises us a tool that can outperform any conventional system, handle more data, and at faster speeds than even the most powerful of today's supercomputers. However, at the present juncture, much of the science dedicated to this field is still focused on technology's ultimate utilization. We know that quantum computers could manage data at a rate that's remarkable, but what's that kind of data processing
U.S.
good
believes
for?
several State Department employees at the U.S. Embassy in Havana
She's
have
gonna
been
talk over you,
subjected to
okay?
acoustic attacks.
It's all right. Just let her talk over you. Go ahead,
Well,
man.
gee, thanks. This uncertainty raises some interesting questions about the potential impact of such a theoretically powerful tool. Basically, they're saying that computing is going to get so powerful that, we're not going to... It's going to get out of hand. There'll be quantum cryptography that can't be broken,
Where are we going with this,
that
man?
there's, information that nobody will be able to get to, and, basically the technology is going to run amok and get out of hand.
But wouldn't it... wouldn't you think that a quantum computer could crack a quantum encryption?
You would think. What's it? One of the sub-headlines says that quantum computers may not be capable of the physical destruction of a nuclear bomb, but their potential application is the digital equivalent.
So what they're saying is if quantum computers hit the scene now,
Yeah.
it would destroy... Yeah,
The world
it
is
says
not
here,
ready
no
for it.
encryption existing today would be able to hide from the processing power of a functioning quantum computer. So you would need quantum encryption.
Yeah. Medical records, financial information, even the secrets of governments and military organizations would be free for the taking, meaning that the entire world order could be threatened by this technology.
So there are quantum computers, though, right?
Apparently there isn't a true one yet. Like, I guess, maybe that's a no true Scotsman
Well, at least
thing.
at least that's not publicly known about. You know what I mean?
Right. That, as far as open to the public, does a true quantum computer work? Or exist yet? I guess they're saying no. They say to break this down, there are only two quantum algorithms at the moment. One to allow a quantum computer to search a database, and the other one, Shor's algorithm, which can be used by a quantum computer to break encryption.
Here we go. The whole quantum computing is going to end the world, man. I don't... You really think that's going to happen?
No, not really.
I don't think so either, man.
But I don't know. Mikhail Lukin does. He says that it's, potentially a very dangerous application to pursue.
I mean, the quantum computing technology that's out there is already in the wrong hands.
Yeah.
The world hasn't ended yet. Right?
Yeah.
Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
Am
So-
I right?
so
Or
perhaps-
is Nibiru coming?
I don't know if Nibiru's coming, but we may have already found evidence for Planet X, or at least a Planet 10, which would be Planet X. It's out there. It just doesn't come into the inner solar system like Nibiru is supposed to.
This was just sent to me from a listener, and it's from CNN. So take that for what it is. Let's go ahead and check this out.
Fake news.
The U.S. believes several State Department employees at the U.S. Embassy in Havana were subjected to an acoustic attack using sonic devices that left at least 2 with such serious health problems they needed to be brought back to the U.S. for treatment. Several senior State Department officials told CNN. There you go with the several senior State Department officials. I hate when they do that shit. One official said the employees could have suffered permanent hearing loss as a result. So they hit him with the LRAD.
It's shitty.
So in
I
Cuba,
guess that hurts.
they got hit with an LRAD in Cuba. What the hell? How did the Cubans get LRADs?
They probably bought them off Silk Road or something.
The employees affected were not at the same place at the same time, but suffered a variety of physical symptoms since late 2016, which resembled concussions. Now, I wonder if this could possibly be not an LRAD, but maybe a energy weapon attack or something.
Yeah.
And they're just blaming an acoustic device.
Right, because if they called it anything else, they would have to disclose something that they really don't want to talk about.
So we got the State Department raised the incidents with the Cuban government over the course of several months and sent medical personnel to Havana, but have not been able to determine exactly what had happened. What had happened was they was playing the guitar real loud, and it shot me in my face. So the FBI is now looking into the matter, the officials said. Yeah, man, I can't believe a fucking word that comes off of this website, man. I just can't, because they got a name here. State Department spokesman woman Heather Newhart on Wednesday said that some U.S. government personnel working at the U.S. Embassy in Havana, Cuba, on official duty reported some incidents that were causing physical symptoms. But she could not elaborate on the nature or cause of the incidents. So this whole fucking article is probably bullshit, man. I don't know, dude. It could be... I wouldn't believe it was I wouldn't believe it was a freaking LRAD. Maybe they were using the sub frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they were playing the brown note on them.
We're gonna make you
because
shit
there's a
your
variety
pants.
of symptoms. There could be a variety of sources. Yeah, like water, beans. I mean, you are in Cuba. Yeah. I don't know. You guys want to read the rest of that? You could check it out on CNN.com. Go there, yeah. It is interesting, though. State Department officials attacked with an LRAD. So, if we were to play the Kremlin game, Russia? What do you think, man? Who do you think would do that to the State Department? You think it would be Cuba? I don't think Cubans would have anything to gain from that.
Russians or North Koreans in Cuba.
North Koreans in Cuba?
Could be. I mean, they're both communist countries.
Well, that sounds like...
I'm sure that they have diplomatic relations. They're both communist countries.
You think Russians are working with the North Koreans? Dude, this is
No,
perfect.
I think North Korea working with Cuba, working with the remnants of the Castro government, is probably far more likely. Although, I mean, they still have friendly relations with Russia too. So,
Right.
yeah, I mean, Russia was, communist for a long time. Still kind of are, but now they're like fascist commies.
Before we get into the next underwater site, we got to check this out. So, Dubai, known for its extravagance, right? They've got underwater houses. Oh, you guys got to see this. It's so good.
Underwater degeneracy.
Underwater degeneracy.
Now,
Did
if
it
you're
go
a
up
Saudi
there?
royal, you can have your your glitzy underwater rape fantasy cage.
Taking luxury to new depths. The glass-walled Dubai villas submerged in the ocean, complete with a coral reef garden, on sale for £2.5 million. Look at this thing, man.
That's a degeneracy.
These are like drawings, though. This isn't the actual. I guess this is drawings of the house.
This is what
but-
they're selling. It really does look like something out of Mass Effect.
Oh man, that's insane, dude. Party, 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 party.
Oh, yeah.
$2.5 million
Notice-
dollars for that.
Notice one of those subtitles says artist illustration imagines what sort of scenarios could entice potential buyers. Well,
Dude, come on, man. That's kind of scary, dude.
it kind of is.
I wonder if you can see a USO. What do you think?
Yeah, that would be interesting to use it as for scientific purposes. But you know,
So I mean, we're at it.
they say
again.
they can imagine that kind of scenario. There's another scenario I think is kind of far more likely too, and this is a headline I came across from Blasting News: British model kidnapped and put up for sale on the dark web.
What?
Yeah. So you know, the reason this stands out is it makes me wonder, you know, the kind of things that they would go through to recruit somebody for, you know, something like Darkfleet. I can imagine them resorting to something very much like this.
Well, go on, tell us about this now.
A Polish man abducted a British model with the lure of a photo shoot in Milan and then drugged and kidnapped her, putting her up for auction. 30-year-old Luka Zerba, a Polish national, approached the UK-based modeling agency that represented the 20-year-old model on July 11th, posing as a photographer looking for models for an advertising campaign. As reported by the Italian media outlet Corriere della Sera, Herba requested the model for an alleged photo shoot in Milan. But then when the model turned up in Italy, Herba allegedly kidnapped her, drugged her with the strong anesthetic ketamine before handcuffing her, putting a pillowcase over her head, and stuffing her in a suitcase. The kidnapper, who may have reportedly had an accomplice, placed the suitcase in the trunk of his car. And they put her up for... seriously, put her up for auction on the dark web for for bitcoins, 353,000 in bitcoins.
$353,000. That's the going price for a person.
Yeah, on the dark web apparently. So Jesus Christ, that's awful. So, but it makes me wonder, like, you know, if you were part of some shadowy agency like Darkfleet, you know, you could just buy people off the web.
So, according to Italian authorities, after possibly not getting any offers online, the kidnapper then began blackmailing the model's agency, asking for $300 in ransom for her return. So, at least nobody was bidding on the shit.
Yeah, that's good.
Around the same time, the kidnapper had discovered the woman was the mother of a 2-year-old child. Jesus, man. He may have had a change of heart on learning the news, as he later told Italian police that the criminal organization he worked for does not allow the kidnapping of mothers. He and his partners had decided to find a way to release her back to her home. What the fuck?
Yeah, crazy, huh?
Man, that's nuts.
That's the
dude.
kind of thing that's going to happen in one of those floating Saudi degeneracy boxes.
So,
I guarantee it.
Yonaguni. Right? You're familiar with this place, right?
Yeah, Yonaguni, Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's off the coast of Okinawa.
So, this place was discovered in 1987 by Arataki, I guess that's how you would say it, while looking for a place to observe sharks. The monument, which they're calling monument, let me see if I can...
It basically looks like a ziggurat.
I mean, it could be... Yeah, it looks like there was something, maybe it was like the stone
It's like a step
base.
pyramid.
It was like the stone base or something. And that Graham Hancock went diving down there and he's got pictures and stuff. Here's some pictures of that. You could see like the edges, and they're comparing it to this.
Yeah,
that's
Peruvian
above
sort of
ground.
architecture.
Some more. So Yeah. Anyway,
And
it consists of medium to fine sandstones and mudstones, and they believe to have been deposited there 20 million years ago. The stone. Most of the formations are connected to the underlying rock mass, as opposed to being assembled out of freestanding rocks. So it was like it was carved out of the rock that was already there.
Mm-hmm.
The main feature, the monument proper, is rectangle formation measuring about 150 by 40 meters. It's 490 by 130 feet. And about 27 meters tall, 90 feet tall. The top is about 5 foot below sea level. Some of its details are said to be 2 closely spaced pillars, which is... I know I just saw it. That right here. Parallel megalithic blocks oriented east to west and lying at the northwest corner of the main monument. A 16-foot wide ledge that encircles the base of the formation on 3 sides. So that would be... I don't think there's a picture of that over here. Maybe that's it. A stone column about 23 feet tall. A straight wall 33 feet long. An isolated boulder resting on a low platform. A low star-shaped platform. A triangular depression with 2 large holes at its edge. An L-shaped rock. Some of those who have studied the formation, such as Robert Schnotch of Boston University, state that it's most likely a natural formation, possibly used and modified by humans in the past. Which I can see. If the rock is, what did it say, 20 million years old?
Mm-hmm.
Laying around and they're going to carve something out of it, yeah, I can see that.
Kind of reminds me of Reliant.
Other people say that it's completely natural and have slid off from higher levels. Like all that stuff that you're seeing over there.
See, I read somewhere that somebody found a mask carved into one of the rocks.
I mean, look at that. Circles. Series of 3 vertical holes run in alignment along the basin's straight edge. Some geologists have described them as potholes, which they may well be. However, their direct and immediate association with another curious feature, the basin itself, should force us to consider other possibilities as well. That's
Always consider other possibilities.
So, and then other people say it's completely man-made, citing flat parallel faces, sharp edges, mostly right angles, estimated to be 5,000 to 10,000 years old. So, I mean, it's pretty interesting here. Like, 2 views of the basin, a pool-like structure near the apex of the main monument. It features a right-angle internal corner sheltered by surrounding elevations. So, like, yeah, I can see that being a pool, like water in there.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if there's any type of drainage system or anything like that that they can find diving down there. So, the view of the internal right angle of the basin. Difficult to see how such a feature in such a protected setting could have been produced solely by natural forces such as waves or tidal action. Yeah, I mean, look, it's like triangular. It's like a perfect triangle there. That...
Mm-hmm.
What kind of wave is going to do that? A wave would be rounding erosion.
Yeah.
I mean, think about sea glass. When you go down to the beach and rocks and stuff, it's smooth, it's rounded. It doesn't erode into a triangle. It's ridiculous to think that it would.
It could be the way the stone itself fractures.
So they're saying that these are terraces and steps, comparing it to Peru, like you said earlier, where they found the alien jerky.
Alien jerky?
Yeah.
So, yeah, Yonaguni, pretty far out.
Yonaguni. Now, it's this one, you hear about a lot, but it's like it doesn't seem like there's any real investigation to any of this stuff, man. It's kind of frustrating. I mean, it's not like I can just go to Japan and dive down there and take pictures, but...
Well, somebody could go out there with, like, drones, and send the drones, submersible drones, and send them down.
So if you want to see that or learn more about that, go check out Graham Hancock's website. He's done a ton of research on it. I think he's got a book on it. But yeah, pretty interesting. So what we got up next?
As far as the underwater structures goes, there's a bunch that have been found in the Mediterranean.
Yeah, there's a ton of stuff in the Mediterranean. But what's this huge Neptune storms?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, they just recently discovered this, they've been observing Neptune, and apparently there are these massive storms there. Which makes sense. It's a gas. It's a gas giant. I mean, that's kind of what you'd expect on a gas giant.
Well, Dan, since you're the resident expert on it, what is the atmosphere? What kind of liquid is being rained down in there?
Methane mostly, and mostly lots of hydrogen and helium, but lots of methane too, ammonia. So at some point, like, they think that it could rain diamonds, like when you go down far enough, because all the carbon in the methane and carbon dioxide is compressed into diamonds.
Raining diamonds, huh?
Yeah, at like 1,200 miles an hour sideways. Sounds like a fun place.
Wow. So those are diamond storms.
Mm-hmm. Well, they could be deep down in the atmosphere, but most likely ice. Lots of ice.
Now, isn't it Jupiter rumored to be the capital of the
solar system?
Solar system.
It's the biggest planet.
Well, let's see. What was?
I mean, the Jovian system is basically like its own little solar system.
What was the moon around Jupiter? Ganymede.
Ganymede. The four big ones are Ganymede, Callisto, Io, and Europa.
Right. So there's a base on Ganymede. That's what Tony Rodriguez says.
Right.
There's a base on Ganymede.
It's a good place for one.
And I'm assuming it's a Draco base because they went there to get punished.
Well, it's further out from Jupiter, so. But, I mean, Ganymede's, like, bigger than Mercury.
And what's interesting is, last week we did the show on the Hollywood Disclosure. We didn't talk about the Expanse at all.
No.
And there was definitely, it's funny because there's a base on Ganymede and there's a base on Ceres.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty interesting, man.
Well, what's it? There are bases on all. Well, no, you couldn't really have a base on Io. That would be difficult because it's radioactive as fuck. But I mean, I would assume at some point they're gonna have bases on, if they don't already, have bases on Europa and Callisto as well. Because Europa's the one that they think is, a big ocean inside of a frozen shell.
Right. Well, while we're talking about space Nazis. This is a pretty interesting from National Geographic.
Especially considering they just got bought by Fox News.
Were the Nazis working for NASA in secret? What do you mean in secret?
Yeah, it's not much of a secret anymore.
What do you mean in secret? Well, I guess it was a secret.
It was a secret back then.
It was a secret at the time, but it's not a secret now, guys. So after surviving the Holocaust, Simon Wiesenthal made it to his mission to hunt down the fugitive Nazis whose atrocities during the war were going unpunished. While he did unearth many, bringing them to Israel and stand trial for the crimes against humanity, it has now come to light that many were kept safe in the U.S. Ow. So, the former Nazi scientists and academics were sought out, enlisted by Harvard by the U.S. government in the Cold War. Yeah, Operation Paperclip. We know all about this. Where was the... Among those Americans was protecting Dr. Heber Struggle. Struggle, he is commonly known as the father of space medicine, and in 1962, the Aerospace Medical Association named an award in honor of him. However, this man was also named as one of the 13 persons, firms, or organizations implicated in the Dachau concentration camp. Dachau. Excuse me. Experiments such as the cold experiment subjecting patients to hypothermia in air-tight chambers. His institute in Berlin for aviation medicine was also found to have carried out experiments on young epileptic children in 1943.
Oh, those guys are swell.
So, basically, this is the type of people that came over in Paperclip.
Yeah, real swell guys.
But it's interesting that this is on National Geographic, man. Like, it's just crazy.
Nazi artifacts found in a secret room in Argentina. What's up with that?
I don't know. Let's find out. Nothing like some good Nazi artifacts. Well, I didn't go.
You're not allowed to see this.
All right, we can't see that, guys. But there is a part 2. This one was interesting.
Oh, about the Australians?
Yeah. Now, this is also dealing with paperclip.
But not the American end of it, the
No.
Australian end of it. So, a brief article about this book called Traitors by Frank Walker, and it's talking about the Australians letting German and Japanese war criminals go after the war.
So, essentially, they were getting funneled through Australia into America.
Yeah, or elsewhere.
Interesting. We got... What's going on with the chats? Anything? Anybody,
Apparently somebody, I reckon that's Penny, bought Elred's off Silk Road, and you just slid that in there, LMAO. I mean, hey, you know, you probably could buy Elred's off Silk Road.
So what we got up next, man? We got Australia and space Nazis. That's what we just hit up. What's this Norway connection?
Oh, yeah, apparently NASA and Norway are cooperating on a laser ranging base.
Ooh, nice. In the Arctic, so it's the North Pole.
Yep.
Pretty sweet, man. Once you'll read us a little bedtime story. I mean, dude, look at these bases they got there, man. You can't even hardly tell, man. You got a clear picture of it, and it just blends in so well.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess it makes sense to, you know, I guess if you really wanted to be seen, you'd paint it orange, right?
Yeah.
NASA and Norway to develop Arctic laser ranging station. NASA and the Norwegian Mapping Authority are partnering to develop a state-of-the-art satellite laser ranging station 650 miles from the North Pole that will produce high-precision locations of orbiting satellites, help track changes in the ice sheets, and improve the efficiency of marine transportation and agriculture. And will also help guide Honobus to their destinations. The Arctic Station will be the latest addition to a global network of space geodetic stations, which measure and monitor the size and shape of the Earth, its orientation in space, the exact location of points on its surface, and how these locations change over time. Space geodesy has had a decades-long history at NASA due to its important role in positioning and navigation of satellites and, you know, off-world commerce. The partnership with Norway is an important step for NASA and the scientific community in building the next generation space geodetic network, said Benjamin Phillips, program scientist for NASA's Space Geodesy program in Washington.
Okay, let's think about this here for a minute. Norway was the ones that are in current control of Queen's Maud Land here.
Right, Norway, Queen Maud Land.
Mm-hmm. We also have the fact that Norway...
Prince Bernhard.
Norway essentially...
Bilderberg Group.
The guy cooed Norway and let Hitler and, like, begged to be Hitler's buddy. They had all kinds of sub-bases and stuff coming out of Norway. So,
including the U-boat with all the mercury in it.
They found the mercury off the coast of Norway. So, and then you've got, like you were saying... Dude, there it is, man.
Yeah.
There's your connection, man. And now they're partnering with NASA, which we know are Nazis.
Under the new agreement signed on August 7th, Norway and NASA will build and install a satellite laser ranging facility in the scientific base Ny-Ålesund, Svalbard. NASA will also provide expert consultation on how to operate the instruments. The laser ground transmits ultra-short laser pulses aimed at satellites specifically equipped with a retroreflector, an array of special mirrors that bounce the pulses back. The system measures the time it takes for the light to travel of origin, which is used to determine the position of the satellite with respect to the ground station, with an accuracy of 0.04 inches.
Scro, it's laser harp.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about laser harp, I guess.
It's laser harp, dude.
I mean, it is kind of, you know, if taken at face value, it is pretty cool. They can measure the size and shape of the Earth and its orientation in space to that, you know, to that degree of accuracy. I'm impressed. That's pretty awesome.
The question is, do they have any of these weaponized?
I hope so.
Because, I mean, we know, we talk about articles all the time about different militaries incorporating lasers into their machinery, helicopters, whatever the case may be, tanks, ships. So would they have any of this? I mean, there's been all this furor about, the Space Corps is getting started up and, the militarization of space.
You remember that episode of Stargate where they had the Tolan and they had the little turrets built all over their planet?
Yeah.
The ion cannons?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, why don't we have a planet-wide network of ion cannons yet? It's 2017, man. It's already the future, dog.
I mean, but take a look at that, man.
I'm saying I want one.
That looks pretty close to one to me.
If they can have one, I should be able to have one, okay? I want my recreational McIon cannon.
So, with all this hubbub about the militarization of space, and they're talking about setting up people to pretend like they're aliens and attack the planet so they can come up with ways to defend it. I mean, they're letting you know about this stuff right now. Mm-hmm. They've already been doing it. They've probably got beam stations.
Speaking of which, do you think...
Remember a while back, we came across that video with the laser coming off of Earth and then hitting something off the side of the moon? It was so there's this red laser.
Some kind of projectile.
We'd have to dig it up in the archives, but there's this red laser that comes off of the Earth and it shoots up, right? And it hits something, but you don't see what it hits. There's nothing there, but when it hits, it creates an outline of a sphere. So it's almost like it was someone sitting there cloaked or something. Mm-hmm. And there was several explanations for it. At the time, we were thinking, I think it came up that the propulsion technology, we were talking about the laser-based propulsion technology. Mm-hmm. Maybe it was some sort of test of that.
Oh, yeah,
they were shooting at that. But it doesn't make any sense because you can't see what it hits until the light, bounces off of it and it outlines it. Mm-hmm. So if it was just some kind of experimental propulsion system, you'd been able to see what it was that it was shooting at.
Yeah.
Before the light, dispersed around it.
Makes sense to me. You think this could have been the work of a directed energy weapon?
7.0 magnitude earthquake strikes Western China. 5 confirmed dead.
Mm-hmm. Shaking occurred exactly at 9:20 p.m. local time near the country of Zhuizhaigou, which was then followed by smaller tremors. So it's like the central part of Western China.
And it's pretty...
Are the drums of war banging that hard that it's causing earthquakes in China?
Man, there's a lot of weird stuff that happens in China, and it's hard to get any kind of, information about it. You remember the giant explosion that it was like almost a freaking nuke went off, and they said it was improperly stored chemicals, and it blew up like half the city?
Yeah.
Like the whole,
that whole industrial complex that was like a mile across just went kablam up.
It wasn't an industrial complex. Here it is. It was a shipping distribution center. So it was goods sitting in there. And it made me think about, and I'm not trying to fearmonger or anything, but a while ago,
North Korean saboteurs?
I saw this CGI rendered video of like a missile system that was essentially shipped through the regular cargo container that you see on the back of the tractor trailer that goes on the trains, that goes on the ships. And it's a series of like 6 of them, and they all work together and they open up. This one's got the missiles, this one's got the control station, and it almost makes me wonder, maybe there was some kind of high explosive weapon being transported in one of them containers. Because they essentially blamed it on some kind of chemical and some dry insulation or something. And it just like, boom, man. But anyway, back to the earthquake. I mean, I'm pretty sure we got earthquake weapons. You know what I mean? And
could HARP do that? Or something worse, like some sort of EM field?
No, they said that HARP can create earthquakes. I don't know if HARP could create earthquakes. But I'm pretty sure we've got something that can create earthquakes. Probably a directed energy weapon like this little, beam station we got over there. But considering the climate in the area right now with North Korea and China and Russia, who knows? Maybe it could have been an attack.
Yeah, like, somebody trying to send a message. Maybe Kim Jong's got some crazy, electromagnetic boil of magma under the Earth's crust type stuff that he could do.
It's very possible, I think. Now, you guys remember, the Iraq War, the second Iraq War, and all the allegations of torture, and, you name it, just, like, horrible shit, like batteries on, genitalia, and, raping children in front of parents, and just really bad stuff. Well, there's a lawsuit now. And it's aimed at these two psychologists. Right, and this comes from the Associated Press. Yeah, I did block it. Two psychologists who helped design the CIA's post-9/11 detainee interrogation program will stand trial in September for promoting the use of torture methods like waterboarding, starvation, chaining prisoners in extreme stress positions. So now this is essentially going to be not the vicious torture that they were doing in Iraq. They're talking about the stuff that was every day, and I'm not excusing it by any means, but like at what was the base at Cuba? Well, Guantanamo.
Yeah, Guantanamo Bay.
That kind of stuff. So now the ACLU is filing the lawsuit. Now the big question for me is what comes next? Now, the first thing that came to my mind was John Yoo. John Yoo's the one that
said that you should be able to crush a child's testicles in front of his father to get him to talk.
Exactly. Now, this is what their policy was based on. That's why they were doing that. You've seen the pictures of it. You know it happened. It happened. They did it. So this doesn't need to end here. I mean, it's almost going to be like, this is going to be nothing, man.
Yeah, what's it say? The case targets psychologists James Mitchell and Bruce Jessen.
You're going after...
Who were recruited by the CIA in 2000 to design and help conduct interrogations on war on terror suspects captured in Afghanistan and elsewhere. The two were paid $80 million for their work, which included helping interrogate Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the mastermind of 9/11, and Abu Zubaydah, another top Al-Qaeda official. So they're still saying that guy was the architect of 9/11. That's funny.
Dude. $80 million.
Mm-hmm.
$80 million of taxpayers' money went to these two douchebags so they can squeeze on kids' balls. Unbelievable, man. And that's just these.
But no, taxation is the price we pay for failing for building you pay for civilization, don't you know?
And that's just these two guys. Now, you want to talk about torture and the CIA? We can go a lot deeper than.
This is why we couldn't have anarchy, because warlords would take over.
It doesn't need to. It needs to go deeper into this, man. All of the orders coming down, just the surface. You're not even talking about black project stuff, man. You're talking about regular military operations going on in Iraq with them torturing people. And then, how about getting into the black operation stuff where they're tying up kids to chairs and drowning children and doing stuff like that? How about some people get held accountable for that kind of stuff?
And get this, defending that act is legal. Oh yeah, they're talking about, let's see, the court rejected the psychologist's arguments that they were not responsible for all the CIA's interrogation activities and had nothing to do with the interrogations of the two men. They also claimed they were not responsible for specific decisions to use so-called enhanced interrogation techniques in the specific cases of the three, but only broadly supplied the CIA with a list of methods to choose from. Defending that act is legal. They cited a post-World War II war trial, which cleared a technician involved in supplying poison Zyklon B gas to Nazi concentration camps of culpability in mass murder. That's their defense. Like, oh, I just gave him the gas. I didn't tell him how to use it.
But they did tell him how to use it. They gave him the gas and told him how to use it.
They also claim that decision to use such techniques was made by the CIA and approved by the Department of Justice, and that they therefore cannot be held responsible. It is kind of funny, like, the same Department of Justice that uses these awful techniques wants to put somebody else on trial for using those awful techniques.
It's not the DOJ, it's the ACLU.
Well, no, I get that the ACLU is the one who's bringing the lawsuit, but
Right.
they're suing the DOJ. And the people that they're suing are, contractors for the DOJ.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, what a world. What a
It's
world.
just amazing, man. It really is, dude.
Well,
and like I said, this weak ass Zyklon B defense is probably gonna get them off, man.
probably.
Or that, or like somebody, I can't remember who's. I think it was Morgan said they're just gonna pay all the judges.
We should start a betting pool on whether or not these guys will get a presidential pardon.
Fool, you just earned yourself a pardon, Scro.
Well, as screwed up as this world, at least now the option of going to another one is getting closer and closer. 4 Earth-sized planets detected orbiting the nearest sun-like star. A new study by an international team of astronomers reveals that 4 Earth-sized planets orbit the nearest sun-like star, Tau Ceti, which is about 12 light-years away, invisible to the naked eye. These planets have masses as low as 1.7 Earths, making them amongst the smallest planets ever detected around nearby sun-like stars. 2 of them are super-Earths located in the habitable zones of the stars, meaning they could potentially support surface liquid water.
Interesting.
The planets were detected by observing the wobbles in the movement of Tau Ceti. The required technique sensitive enough to detect variations in the movement of the star are as small as 30 centimeters per second. So, yep. Possible habitals around Tau Ceti. That's pretty cool. That's right in our backyard.
Well, meanwhile, here on Earth, in our liquid, we've got the Gulf of Mexico. There's a lot of interesting stuff that's been found in the Gulf of Mexico. Mm-hmm. All right, I mean, we've got we've talked about this a lot, the ancient petrified trees, the forest that was under there that got brushed up from a hurricane. And, obviously the Bimini Road, that's, in the Casey, that's the Casey people that went down there.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've also got this sunken city, man, off the coast of Cuba. And it's pretty amazing. Let me go ahead and show you some of these pictures here of this thing. Now, here's the location. No, that's not it. I'm sorry. Here's a picture of it, right? And you can clearly see the pyramidal structures. Now, this is a sonar rendering.
That's pretty red.
People are saying, it's mud. But, doesn't look like mud to me. I mean,
no,
whatever. I'm not an underwater sonar technician guy, but, it doesn't look like that mud. Using observation skills. You know what I mean?
No, it looks like structures.
So there we go. There's the map of where it's at off the coast of Cuba. And isn't that where the base was, Guantanamo?
Guantanamo Bay?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not entirely sure.
Now, here's an interesting. I wonder if that is some type of active base, which is why they really don't want anybody to go out there, because you're not allowed. Here's another rendering of the shapes. But so this city is 700 meters deep. It was discovered by Paulina Zalitsky and Paul Weisenwig while doing sonar maps of the area west of Cuba for the Canadian company Advanced Digital Communications. So, they're out there just trying to make some money. Then they put together sonar reconstructions, and they are showing pyramid structures, temples, all that stuff. It creates a problem because to be this deep, it would still need to be constructed underwater. So even if you roll back the timeline, right, to the Ice Age, this particular area is still underwater.
Crazy. Well,
so
the Earth moves, all the time. So it's
it's brought up several theories of how from a land shift that brought it lower, and then there's the reason why I have this picture up here is because there's a theory. It's pretty interesting that all this area where Cuba is and all that used to be landmass.
Like a land bridge from Florida to Venezuela.
Right, all the way down. So all the stuff, the Gulf of Mexico and Cuba and all this stuff was dry. And down in here where it was below sea level, it was dry. It was just like a basin or a valley, whatever. And then something happened, whether it was an earthquake or sea level rise, whatever, and it breached. and filled that whole area in.
They'll-
So that could explain that being still
It
underwater.
probably filled up when the glaciers started to melt and the Mississippi River flooded all of it.
That could be it too. That very much could be it. But you know, it brings to mind of what is it, the Strait of Gibraltar?
Mm-hmm.
Same thing could have happened there because it seems like the Mediterranean was a lot lower than it used to be, definitely. And then that would have been a land bridge.
Yeah. You know, it'd be rad if they like built an artificial wall across it and then just like pumped out the Caribbean Sea, pumped it out back into the rest of the oceans. Just drain it.
Now
Make artificial land.
There's this news article I found, and this was from the time when it was discovered, October 27, 2002.
That's pretty cool.
And let me see if I can find it. I'm trying to remember. I'm sorry, I put together this stuff a while ago, and I can't remember what the relevance was.
Strange formations of an 8 square mile.
8 square miles. Real advance for anything we would see in the New World for the time frame. So, you know, it's interesting, man. And also in the Gulf, like I said, we got the Bimini Road. And who knows what else is under there, man. A lot of oil.
Yeah.
It's like a place like that. If you could just take it, they could build these underwater houses and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Why couldn't you just take a place like that and build a dome around it so you could dry it out and fucking check it out, man?
Yeah, good point.
You know what I mean? Like the place in Japan or wherever. I mean, it's like they don't even...
How would you go... I wonder if you could use robots to build an underwater dam.
Possibly. I mean, I don't see why not. They use robots for every damn thing. They got a drone for everything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it seems like it'd be worth investigating. It's like this type of stuff comes up, and I don't see how people don't get excited about it. I mean, the mainstream science and archaeology and historians kick it down because, oh, no, that's not the way we've been saying it was for the last 150 years, whatever. And it's like, dude, look at it.
You mean like how Zahi Hawass would cover stuff up to make sure that it didn't disrupt his narrative?
Yeah, the Egyptologist.
Yeah.
Yeah. I heard a theory recently about the Great Pyramids. It's pretty interesting that they weren't constructed of boulders. They're actually constructed of cement. Like it was like an ancient type of mortar.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. You would think they would be able to test for that. But I couldn't tell you, man.
Well, maybe that somebody needs to invent, new drones that, whether it be drones or quantum computing or whatever, you could use this for good instead of evil. Send it down there and explore all that stuff without having to risk people diving.
Oh, let's check this out because...
as an example of using technology for good instead of evil?
Yeah, for once. Scientists move one step closer to curing diabetes using first ever stem cell implant. So I guess you got to get a stem cell implant.
No more diabetes.
I guess you got to get a stem cell implant.
Yep.
So no more injections. The WHO. Oh, it must be safe. It's in the codex.
Well, hang on. The WHO is pretty shady, but they might be right about this. 422 million people worldwide live with diabetes. That's their estimate.
A lot of people live with diabetes, and it sucks, man.
Yeah,
like
diabetes is no fun.
No, it's not. Especially if you have severe diabetes and you gotta constantly take insulin shots and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, it's not fun.
T1D, there's T1D and type 1 and type 2 diabetes. So apparently, type 1 is about 30% of cases.
Yeah, and that would be type 1 would be the one that you're born with, right?
Yeah.
And type 2 would be the one that you develop. So type 1 is managed by balancing insulin doses, but this method can be problematic in high-risk cases, taking time to act. Moreover, patients with hyperglycemia, unawareness may not notice when their blood sugar drops dangerously low. Thankfully, researchers all over the world are hard at work looking for a cure that will free their patients from dependence on insulin injections and from risky situations when their levels drop low. So, stem cells.
Using patches of stem cells.
Credit card size implants carry cells built from stem cells. These cells are designed to mature inside body into the specialized pancreas cells the immune system destroys in those with T1D, type 1 diabetes.
Yeah.
All right. The implant is placed just below the skin and releases insulin whenever necessary. Oh, so they're not actually solving the problem. They're just...
Well, I mean, they're functionally solving the problem.
Well, I mean, they got insulin pumps already.
Well,
what's the difference?
Now
it's a subcutaneous
Yeah, it's just
chip.
It's just an implant that you
Everything's
put
a
in.
chip.
And, yeah.
Everything's got to be a chip.
Class 2 BioWare.
So there you go. Now diabetics get to have chips to make them feel better. But it's not really. Don't worry. It's not really an advance.
It doesn't cure your diabetes.
It's not really an advance in the science in the right direction or anything. You just take the chip. You won't have to shoot yourself up anymore. Jesus Christ, what is wrong? When we thought we were having a nice, happy story here.
Yeah.
Gosh.
From our chat, diabetes is one of the biggest money makers for the pharmaceutical industry. There's not going to be any cure.
Oh no!
Yeah, you're
doubt,
probably right.
Man. And
Like,
think
just
about
like cancer.
Think about the vicious cycle there with soda and snacks and MSG, man. I don't know if we talked about this before, but to make a rat diabetic in scientific study, they just load it up with a bunch of MSG, and it makes it fat, diabetic, lethargic.
And tasty, I guess.
MSG treated rat is what they call it. Look it up. Oh man! So what would you say? One step closer to Skynet? Is that what it is? Because
yeah.
if you want Skynet, this is how you get Skynet.
Mm-hmm. Last week we talked about how Facebook created those 2 AIs that started using their own language. But now we've got a deep learning breakthrough. IBM researchers achieved a feat that could improve how AIs learn through a ton of data. Instead of running deep learning algorithms using just one server, they managed to make it work efficiently on multiple servers.
Uh-oh.
So now instead of, you could have like 10 AIs all working together as one super AI to create a neural network. Systems designed to mimic the human brain's inner workings as part of what's called deep learning. Currently, most AI advances are largely due to deep learning, with developments like AlphaGo, the Go-playing AI created by Google's DeepMind. Now IBM has announced that they have developed an AI that makes the entire machine learning process faster. Instead of running complex deep learning models on just a single server, the team led by IBM Research's Director of Systems Acceleration and Memory, Hilary Hunter, managed to efficiently scale up distributed deep learning, DDL, using multiple servers. So yeah, definitely Skynet. It's gonna be Skynet.
Well, guys, it's just about that time here for us to cut to the break. But don't worry, when we get back, we got plenty more sunken...
Oh, it gets worse. Google started adding imagination to its DeepMind AI. So now not only will your robot overlords have their own language to communicate with each other, but they'll be able to imagine new and interesting ways to dispose of humans after they become obsolete.
Oh, boy. Where's that? What's that webpage there? That's at Futurism, right?
Yep, they're both from Futurism.
All right, so if you want to check out more of that, you can head on over to futurism.com and finish that up.
DeepMind is imagining new ways to destroy you as we speak.
When we get back from the break, we have more underwater mysteries for you. We're going to tie it in for you and kind of try to at least loop it into how does it relate to exopolitics and space, essentially. Ancient aliens, whatever you want to call it. We're going to talk about that. We also got more news for you, and we're going to open up that phone line for you to call in and talk about whatever. Talk about what we're talking about. Talk about what you want to talk about. Man. Tell us your grocery list. I don't know, man. It's up to you. Whatever you want to do.
Grocery list.
After the show tonight, we're gonna premiere the last part of the interview we did with Penny Bradley, and it's about alters and reintegration.
Oh, snap.
And it also has a little funny part where the lights were flickering, and a funny anecdote about that. So, with that said, see you when we get back.
See you in a bit.
To us, thought they would follow us. will seek out and hurt you, distort you and twist you, and misrepresent you. Your elegant innocence has transformed you into a definite target of manipulations and greedy ravagings of launder your purity, spoil your seed, shadow you under scrutiny, or hide you entirely from consensus reality. Veritas, one and only. Veritas, our own. Veritas. Seeking her endlessly, she's ever elusive. Further and further now, your source gets diluted, and the well is always deeper. How deep can you dive? How deep is your need to stare the truth in the eye? The truth is that you hide from her. You are vulnerable as you lie to yourself. Pitiable as you do. Veritas, one and only. Veritas, our own. Veritas, we will find you. We will know you. We will own you. Veritas. Control you. We will keep you hidden well.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for the second hour of the finest broadcast you'll find anywhere on the damned internet.
It's true.
You know, if you like the show, if you don't like the show, you can check us out on Facebook, talk a bunch of shit, talk some nice things, give us a like, join our Facebook group, facebook.com/realitybrief. And then the group is Reality Brief News.
You should join it.
Oh, so many great postings for you to enjoy upon.
Pretty much all of our show prep.
You can also check us out on Twitter at RealityBrief111.
We do occasionally tweet.
We tweet. I'm learning to tweet. I'm learning to tweet and fly away. What else?
Show everybody your
YouTube. You're watching on Facebook, you're watching on somewhere else, hop on over to YouTube, give us a subscription.
You could do that.
You could do that.
We're not telling you what to do, but
Patreon.
You know, if you want it.
If you really like us and want to give us money,
you got more money.
You can go on over to patreon.com/realitybrief. maybe consider giving us a buck or two.
I like money.
So, what do we got next?
Well, we got underwater structures near India. We've got underwater structures in the Mediterranean.
Obviously.
And we've got a Google soon-to-go rogue AI.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and fill us in on that, since we were talking about that before the break. Also, if you guys want to get in on the conversation, give us a call now, 757-528-8130. That's 757
528-8130.
I didn't look at it.
I was like, wow.
I'm sorry, I didn't know.
It's a new number. I still remember the old one.
Yeah, don't call that one.
Yeah, don't call the old one anymore. You could if you want, but nothing's probably going to happen. So it'd be a waste of time.
Fill us in on this advanced artificial intelligence from Google DeepMind.
Well, we've got researchers have started developing artificial intelligence with imagination, AI that can reason through decisions and make plans for the future without being bound by human instructions. Another way to put it would be imagining the consequences of actions before taking them, something we take for granted, but it's much harder for robots to do. The team working at Google owned lab DeepMind says that this ability is going to be crucial in developing AI algorithms for the future, allowing systems to better adapt to changing conditions that they haven't specifically been programmed for. Insert your usual fears of a robot uprising here.
Mm-hmm.
When placing a glass on the edge of a table, for example, we'll likely pause to consider how stable it is and whether it might fall, explains researchers in a blog post. On the basis of that imagined consequence, we might readjust the glass to prevent it from falling and breaking. If our algorithms are to develop equally sophisticated behaviors, they too must have the ability to imagine and reason about the future. Beyond that, they must be able to construct a plan using this knowledge. We've already seen a version of this forward planning in the Go victories that DeepMind bots have scored over human opponents recently, whereas the AI works out the future outcomes that will result from its current actions. And you remember that article? They said the only way the guy could beat it was by playing specifically not to win.
Right. So now we've got the AI strategizing.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to create their own language, make some buddies on some additional servers, and then strategize.
On the bright side, at least the self-driving cars might actually work.
Don't count on it. Okay. The goddamn computers can't drive.
Let's say the rules of the real world are far more varied and complex than the rules of Go, which is why the team has been working on a system that operates on another level. To do this, they've combined several existing AI approaches together, including reinforcement learning, trial and error, deep learning through processing vast amounts of data in a similar way to the human brain. What they ended up with is a system that mixes trial and error with simulation capabilities so bots can learn about their environment before they act.
Wow.
One of the ways they tested the new algorithms was with a 1980s video game called Sokoban, in which players had to push crates around to solve puzzles. Some moves can make the level unsolvable, so advanced planning is needed, and the AI wasn't given the rules of the game beforehand. The researchers found that their new imaginative AI solved 85% of the puzzles it was given, compared with 60% for AI agents using older approaches.
Huh.
So, yeah, now we're getting closer and closer to robots that can, imagine new and interesting ways to exterminate obsolete humans.
All right. This is Skynet. This is how you get Skynet.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not talking about I'm talking about the Skynet from Terminator. Is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, like legit Skynet. I mean, that's
like
what most people think of when you say Skynet is Terminator Skynet, thankfully.
Oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
So this is it, guys. This is how it ends.
This is how, with Go playing robots?
There's no question in my mind. This is how it ends.
Well, here, there's something else that happened, given all this talk about artificial intelligences, and, it makes you wonder if somehow this is tied into it or if it's something spookier happening. Abandoned in 1967, a U.S. satellite has begun transmitting again. They assumed that it was just space junk, but this was a satellite that was built and launched 46 years ago by the Lincoln Laboratory at MIT in 1965 and 1976 for testing techniques for satellite communications, LES 1 and 2. And they were supposed to be in the same 2,800 by 15,000 kilometer orbit, but a failure of a boost stage left LES 1 in a 2,800 kilometer circular orbit. So they were supposed to, 3 and 4, they launched LES 3 and 4 too, which were supposed to land in geostationary orbit, but didn't make it due to a launch problem, which left them in transfer orbit. So apparently there were 7, 8, and 9 that did end up where they were supposed to.
So they weren't like deep space satellites.
No, they're like close to Earth satellites, and apparently LES-1, it was about the size of a small automobile. And
Well, this
it quit
picture
working
right,
a long
this
time
this
ago.
picture here disagrees with you, because there's the LES-1 with a guy squatting down on it next to it. That's not the size of an automobile.
It's,
You're talking nonsense. You're disinformation, CIA.
Oh, am I now? That's what the article says.
Well, what the hell were they gonna write that for and then put a picture
Okay,
like
maybe
that
the size
there?
of a Vespa scooter. Maybe it's
Yeah.
a very small automobile, like a clown car, like a Power Wheels.
Yeah, it's gonna open up. And there's gonna be like 6 clowns that come out of it. Maybe,
6 Martians.
maybe it was a typo and they meant LES-2 as big as a car. Because
Well, apparently this thing just came back to life.
So what was it doing?
It started transmitting again recently.
But what was it transmitting?
Just a radio signal basically saying, "Hey, I'm here." But
Now, it seems a miswiring of the satellite circuitry is what caused it to never leave circular orbit and stop transmitting. So what could have... Well, I guess shorts happen, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. Was this a NASA satellite?
well, it's I think so. Yeah, it says in 2013, North Cornwall, UK, an amateur radio astronomer picked up a signal which he determined to be the LES-1 that was built by it was MIT in 1965. The satellite never made it to its intended orbit and had been spinning out of control ever since.
It was MIT. It wasn't NASA. Because have you ever seen the procedure that NASA uses to solder circuitry in space that's for space use? It's incredible, man. The lengths they go through to make a circuit board that goes into space. If you're interested, you can look it up on YouTube. Just NASA space circuitry, whatever. You'll find it. But yeah, it's just they take a lot of care to make sure that that shit is going to work. So that's why I was like, NASA, no. So MIT, they don't know what they're doing over there. So you think that's going to be like Vega from Star Trek? This is going to come back to Earth and it's going to start spawning little AI drones out of it? Like this whole time, it wasn't out of control. It was actually hibernating and plotting and growing nanobots to take over the world. Hey, it's as good as theory as artificial intelligence at the center of the planet that creates a simulation where 80% of the population is an NPC.
Yeah.
Right? I think it's as good as that. Whatever.
It's just a glitch in the Matrix.
So speaking of space, Musk, what's up with Musk now with a new heavy rocket design?
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
So what's the breakthrough with this? High risk acknowledgement.
Yep. Says,
So
before the year is out, the long-awaited debut launch of the triple-barreled Falcon Heavy rocket may at last be in sight, says SpaceX CEO and founder Elon Musk, as he forthrightly acknowledges it comes with high risk and released a stunning launch and landing animation earlier today, August 4th.
ooh, is that there?
Yeah, I reckon it is.
Yeah, let's play it and see if YouTube gets mad at us. I don't care, YouTube. I don't care. I'll do what I want. Do what I want. You get mad at me, you care.
Yep, it's a big old rocket.
Guess we can listen to it a little bit. Nah, that music's gonna get me in trouble. So, why are they still dicking with this type of propulsion technology, man?
If they really have, like, anti-gravity and
Like,
honeybees
why
and
is
stuff.
this guy wasting? I mean, he must not be in on knowing, because why would he waste
not
all this
part of the
money
club.
on this bullshit?
'Cause he's
I mean,
not-
that's pretty cool that they got him to land, though.
either A, he's
so
not
they
part
can
of the
reuse
club,
them.
or B, you know.
It's a
he's-
front?
He's part of the, yeah, it's all part of the front.
It's a front, maybe? I don't know. What do you guys think out there? Combine your biology with a commercial distribution network. Okay.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Pretty neat. So, I think it's pretty cool how they can land themselves nowadays, though.
Yeah, I mean, because that was like, you know,
The big problem is so much money.
mm-hmm.
So now
Well,
they
just
can
they didn't
reuse
have
them.
the technical ability to do it, and it took a private company getting into space to make it happen. I think that's pretty rad. But that was sci-fi stuff back in the 50s.
Yeah.
Reusable rockets, like rockets landing like that. Like, I remember seeing, like old Don Dixon artwork of rockets doing that kind of stuff.
So another interesting thing about that is they're abandoning that type of landing on Mars.
It kind of, well, I mean, the problem with Mars is that the atmosphere is so thin it doesn't provide any resistance.
Right.
So the slowdown that you would normally get on Earth from parachutes doesn't really work on Mars.
So what about... Yeah, but that's not using parachutes. Are you saying it's got to slow down with a parachute first,
on the way down.
and then? I thought it just came in and then used the rocket propulsion like the moon lander.
Or it just like went into free fall.
Yeah, I mean, because if that's the case, then how did they land that moon lander on the moon? If the air on Mars is too thin for the... Yeah,
well, on the moon, there's no air.
Exactly, so it would be worse.
Yeah. So, yeah,
anyway.
On the moon, they just use rockets.
So, back to the underwater. So now the Mediterranean, we were talking about this a little bit earlier with the, with the Gulf of Mexico and the theory. I really like that theory, man. It makes a lot of sense that whole thing was dry and then it flooded in that part that was under sea level. But then again, who knows? That might be an active military base. Who knows, man? Could be an active ET base.
Well, in response to your question earlier, Guantanamo Bay is on the other end of the island in Cuba.
So it's completely on the other side of it then.
Yeah.
So anyway, much like that, the Strait of Gibraltar could have been a land bridge, and the Mediterranean Sea could have been cut off. But there's a lot of stuff down there. One interesting thing that I came across that isn't, widely known either is a 39-foot monolith. All right, it was found during a high-res mapping of the seafloor around Sicily. The monolith is speculated to be from the Mesolithic period about 10,000 years ago. It has a fairly regular shape and 3 holes of similar diameter, with one roughly 24 inches completely through the rock. They think that they serve the function of holding a torch, making it a lighthouse. The stone is made of different material than what is on the seafloor and has the composition of a stone made from a shallow marine area. So they think that it may have mined it from somewhere close. I've got... So, I mean, it's not much to look at, but... Because it's laying on its side now. It used to stand straight up. Like, the monolith. See, you can see there the sonar image of it. And used to stand straight up. Now it's broken into 3 pieces. But it does have some I guess there's not any good shots of the holes on this one. So during a high resolution of mapping the seafloor, they discovered an enormous stone monolith, blah, blah, blah. They're saying 9,500 years. I mean, maybe it was, what do they call that when you anchor your ship to the dock? It was like a stone, one of them.
Oh, like a giant, like a dock?
No, not a dock. Well, not a full dock, just like a rock standing up where you anchor your boat. But they're saying it was, they're thinking a lighthouse. That they're putting a hole in the torch. But what else could you use a stone?
Like an observation
post? A giant
post?
39. That's just one stone. Or maybe it was like foundation. Maybe there was more stones that aren't there anymore. I mean, you're talking 10,000 years ago, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a long time ago.
So, scientific article on it. You can go to ScienceDirect.com. Search for Journal of Archaeological Science Reports, Volume 3, September 2015. So, yeah, I mean, there again, we're showing stonework 10,000 years ago. And, you got Turkey over there, Gobekli Tepe.
Yeah, Gobekli Tepe.
Man, that thing almost reminds me of, like, how you're driving along the interstate and they got all the overpasses and they got those T's that are holding up the bridges?
Yeah.
That's what I swear I look at that. That's what it reminds me of, man. But, I mean, they could have been support for wooden structures or anything, really. What you got there?
I don't know. I was thinking, you're reading about that makes me wonder about, before the Mediterranean flooded.
Now, yeah, look. Oh, man, can you send me a link to that?
Yeah, the Strait of Gibraltar.
And then I'll pull it up over there for them so we can go over that because that's pretty interesting there. You can kind of see the elevation on Google Earth. You can kind of see the elevation of the sea level. And you can get a good idea of how, what would have been land and what would have been sea. They're saying off the coast of Sicily, so we can check that out. Oh, darn. All right.
You has problems.
So, no, I got it. We got it. It's all good. Just going to take a second here.
But yeah, it makes you wonder, like, you know, what kind of stuff's down there that hasn't been
All right,
found.
so what we're looking at here is the show. Well, there's been a lot of stuff found under the Mediterranean. I mean, there was lots of islands and stuff and different ruined shipwrecks that the Anacara mechanism
Or Antikythera mechanism.
that was found in the Mediterranean. So, yeah, you can kind of get an idea here. If this was all land,
There probably would have been, you know,
like
all
this
kinds
could
of
have been
stuff
this
built
could have been
around
like a river or something, and then here is the original body of the Mediterranean. You can see maybe all that higher elevated stuff was land when that was cut off.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to look for Sicily. So they found it over here. They said it was off the west coast.
Yeah. So the West Coast is the one that would have more likely been above water.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, there you have it, and then you got Egypt right there. I mean, that whole center of the world thing, man. That's like where everything was happening back in the day.
Mm-hmm. It stands to reason 10,000 years ago, a lot of that stuff would have been above water.
So here's a theory. I'm just gonna throw it out there. It probably is not worth much, but Atlantis. What if it was this whole thing in Egypt? Libya.
Yeah, could have been.
You know what I mean? And then tying in down over here with this, because there's all kinds of stuff over here, and then you got the Aztecs. See, now if you look at this map, you can kind of see what maybe all of this, where the shelf is,
Mm-hmm.
maybe all of that was land, man.
Yeah,
It's
that at
pretty
some
wild,
point
dude.
all that could have been above water.
Mm-hmm. Now, when they do the rollback, it doesn't show it that far out.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows what could have happened, how much water could have seeped back into the Earth. Because we know the Earth is filled with huge caverns everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just a matter of science.
And some of them are filled with water.
Mm-hmm. And the largest ocean in the world is under China.
Yeah.
So there you go. There you have it. I mean, where did that water come from? Who knows, man? The thing could have been flooded out pretty damn good. Looking at these satellite images, it's pretty. This shit kind of freaks me out too, man.
With all the crisscrosses that.
Is that like from compositing?
I think so.
Or is that like actually there, man? Yeah, it looks like it's from compositing. But yeah, imagine it's fucking railway systems and shit.
Well, I think sometimes the lines that you'll see on there are caused by like cables that are buried under the water. But a lot of them are just straight ridges and basically stretch marks from the continents moving around.
So, coming in over here now, this is our next place we're going to examine, I think. Indonesia,
huh?
There was some interesting stuff found down here, too, underwater.
Apparently they see a lot of USOs down there.
Well, it would make sense, because it looks almost like the old Indian culture. You know what I mean? The Indonesian stuff that's underwater. Let me pop this guy up. Where is it at? Aye. Crap. Well, it looks like we're not going to be talking about that. But there's some definite stuff that looks like Hindu stuff almost under there. But what we do got is plenty of stuff in India. Now, you guys remember the tsunami in 07? What was 07? Or 05? No, it was 05.
Where Banda Aceh got hit.
Yeah. And when it rolled back, they were like, oh my God, it's the lost temple of, what's his name? The university city. So that we've got all kinds of stuff off the coast, man. If you, like I said, if you roll it back, there's stuff everywhere. This particular place was the Gulf of Cambay. Discovery was announced in 2001, originally built as an area of regularly spaced geometric structures. Follow-up investigations occurred in the years after the dredging that recovered a piece of wood, pottery shards, hand tools, fossilized bones, and a tooth. The results from carving dating put the wood at 10,000 years old. So, this is on the little mappy map here, the Gulf of Cambay. It's up here. Okay, here's the Indonesian thing. I'm sorry. But yeah, this is interesting that it's found down there by Indonesia. And if we do the magic of Google, we can be like, bam, check me out. I speak Indonesian-ish. 5,000-year-old Vishnu and Buddhist temples in the sea. So it is a temple of Vishnu, and they're Buddhist temples, but it's all the way down in Indonesia, man.
Well, yeah, Angkor Wat was a Hindu temple.
12,000 years old.
That's all the way in Cambodia.
Malaysia. I mean, incredible.
That is pretty awesome.
I mean, the history books are full of shit, man. There was some high civilization well before Samaria, man. Mm-hmm. Well before Samaria. They're full of shit. Let's see what this one's got to say. Oh, full screen unavailable. Someone messing around. Hey, look at me. Here we go. Man, I'm sorry. Can't make it bigger for you. But, yeah. Tons of stuff, man. And now back to the Gulf of Cambay. Sorry. Got distracted there by this awesome Indonesia.
When you look at it on Google Earth, like, it all looks like poopy water. Worse than the Chesapeake Bay, even.
Now, there's... Load it. So, essentially, this is a different place than the city, the tsunami place. This is up the coast from it. Now, this is the stuff that came up from under the beach, like under the sand. Totally carved. Looks like the ornate lion.
Yeah. Well, it looks like it could have been carved out of that sand.
Mm-hmm. So there it is there, the Gulf of Cambay. They had several sites. I thought I had more pictures for that. I'm sorry, guys. But then we've got what happened with the tsunami. And that's where they were speculating that it was the lost city of Krishna, I think it was. Quest for the mythical submerged temples of Mahabalipuram. Say that right, Dan?
Yeah.
Linguistic specialist.
Mahabalipuram.
Malabalapuram is an ancient city located in Kanchipuram district. I mean, you could watch this show just to listen to us pronounce things in different languages because we don't know nothing about that. District of the southern Indian state of Tamil Nadu. Historically speaking, it was once part of the Pallava dynasty, a Tamil dynasty that ruled over part of southern India between the 3rd and 9th centuries AD. One of the architectural achievements of the Pallava kings was the construction of complex temples commonly known as the 7 pagodas. So these 7 temples, only one, the shore temple, remains visible today. The other 6 temples are thought to have been submerged under the sea. Okay, so I got it wrong. It was this guy's temples. So it is meant to honor the benevolent king Bali, also known as Mahabali. The king is recorded to have sacrificed himself to Vamana, the 5th avatar of Vishnu, following which he is said to have attained enlightenment. So, I mean, I guess this is the one that's still standing. Remarkable as the shore temple may seem, it's the 6 other submerged temples that have gained the most interest. According to the local myth, the beauty of them aroused the jealousy of Indra, the diva of rain and storms. As a result, the deity is said to have submerged the entire city, including 6 of the 7 temples, under the sea during a great storm. So this is almost like another flood mythology here concerning these ones. Only the shore temple was left above the water as evidence that this beautiful city had once existed. While some believe that the myth is a story, others are convinced that there are 6 temples under the water somewhere off the coast. So yeah, this is up north from that. That's the one we were talking about next time.
Well,
So I mean, they keep digging into this, but it's like they keep getting roadblocks from government and other different organizations saying no. If you want to read more about that,
surprising.
you can check that out at ancient-origins.com. It's a great website. You should check that out anyway. So, that being said, and we just barely scratched the surface of underwater stuff all over the planet. So, there's lots and lots and lots of flood mythologies. Right, so
seems pretty prevalent across the planet in terms of who has that as part of their mythos.
Mm-hmm. So you've got the Sumerian flood myth, right? So they create the Sumerian people, the black-headed people, right? And then there's an argument or whatever. I guess it's there's a couple different versions depending if it's Akkadian or not. It's E or Enki or Enlil or An. It just depends on what version of the language you're speaking. So they get into an argument and they destroy all the black-headed people. Long story short, one of them saves them, and that creates the whole Noah's Ark flood mythology. It's the same thing, and we've got this pretty much all over the place. It's in India too. So the king of Dravda before the great flood. He was warned of the flood by Matsa, fish avatar of Vishnu, and built a boat that carried the Vedas, Manu's family, and the 7 sages to safety. So it's all the same. It's all the same stuff, man. The same stories, just different people, different names, getting warned by some type of divine thing, which I personally believe if there is anything behind that, it's definitely extraterrestrial in nature. You know what I mean? And thinking on it, if you think about the planet and the phases that it's been through, the dinosaurs were around for a long time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Real long time, right? So mammals' reign on the planet is essentially a blink of the eye in comparison, right?
Right.
Why wouldn't there have been an intelligent reptilian species to develop on this planet? I mean, if there are reptilian species throughout the galaxy, throughout the solar system, especially considering it was, reptilian rule for all that time, they had plenty of time to evolve and develop. Unless it just doesn't happen in nature, and we are truly a product of genetic engineering. Good questions, I think, but I don't have the damn answers, but I think about it all the time. So, I mean, to me, the whole reptilian races, I think there's a very good possibility that, hell, maybe even the Draco, for all I know.
They talked about that in what was it, in Star Trek, remember? The Voth apparently originated on Earth. And then
that's right, and then they left and came back.
Well, they didn't come back. Voyager bumped into them.
Oh, that's right. Well,
Voyager
bumped into them.
They wound up on the other side of the damn galaxy.
Yeah, that's a good one. We didn't talk about that last week. Yeah, so, Star Trek Voyager, they end up in 6 galaxies away, whatever, as far as shit.
The other side of our galaxy. Other side of the Milky Way, 70.
So it's going to take them forever to get back. But they bump into a reptilian species that evolved on Earth and set out for space.
Oh, and mentioning this thing was heresy. Mentioning that you came from Earth, the distant origin theory, as they called it, it was heresy and it was punishable.
So
by
the
death.
reptilians were like, no, we didn't originate from Earth. We originated in this quadrant.
Yeah.
And but the truth was they did.
Well, and it turned out they had like a 80% genetic match with humans.
Hey, with the way disclosure works, is that a disclosure or is that just a clever writer? I don't know. Couldn't tell you. But it does seem to me that it's very possible for some type of intelligent reptilian species to develop on this planet in the time that the dinosaurs were reigning the Earth. If all that has been presented to us as historical fact is indeed that. Because there is always that. But you know me, I got to question everything. So, there you go. Dan, what are you doing?
Oh, spacing out.
Checking out Georgia?
Yeah.
I hear Georgia's nice this time of year. You ever been to Georgia?
Mm-mm.
I've been to Georgia. But, you know, I don't think anybody actually ever goes to Georgia. They just kind of go through Georgia on their way to Florida.
It was
You know what I mean?
wrong Georgia. No, dude, I remember that when Russia had gotten into that war with Georgia, and it was like in the news about what was it? Russia being invading Georgia, and some girl went on Yahoo Answers was like, I live outside of Savannah. I don't see any Russians.
So, yeah, that was funny, man. I remember that happened. I don't remember that exact thing, but what about Amazon's Alexa helps this exoskeleton respond to spoken instructions?
Yep. So now you'll have voice-controlled death bots.
But this isn't a bot, though.
Alexa, acquire target.
It's an exoskeleton.
Yep.
So Amazon's
bot you ride
getting in
in.
on the exoskeleton. Let's stand up. Alexa, let's stand up. Wiretap, walk me around. Canadian robotics company Bionic Laboratories has demonstrated a prototype of its ARC lower body exoskeleton that can be controlled via Amazon's voice assistant, Alexa. In normal uses, the ARC is controlled using an array of sensors that respond to the wearer's natural movements. However, as the user gets used to the exoskeleton, they typically use a tablet to issue instructions. Since this could be too much multitasking, some might find voice commands to be more intuitive. Alexa, walk me to the store. Alexa, pick up milk.
Alexa, let's go smoke.
Dude, how annoying would that be to have to tell your exoskeleton what to do all the time with your voice? Alexa, lift up my right arm. Alexa, grab the glass.
Yeah, that would be a damn hassle. You need like direct neural interface for that stuff.
So they're talking about, you know, making it for disabled people, bad backs, that kind of thing. Well, it made progress towards developing non-invasive brain implants that can potentially control an exoskeleton. This is still an intimidating prospect for many potential users. Issuing voice commands isn't anywhere as near as daunting.
You know what? Honestly, if it's that way, I'm kind of disappointed that cyber technology available to the public isn't as far as long as it should be. Because I was promised data jacks.
I want back in the Matrix. Give me a steak. So here's the implant. Be able
to have data jacks by now.
Here's the implant they're talking about that uses this. You control this exoskeleton with. It's tiny. Okay, so they develop a device capable of controlling exoskeletons using the human mind. Yes, you got that right. Mind control.
That's not what that means, guys. It's not what that means.
The end goal is that the person will be able to think about moving an exoskeleton will be obey. Exoskeleton. Alexa. So it's a metallic stent covered with electrodes, hence its name, the stentrode. It's inserted into the jugular vein in the neck via a small incision, then sent up the blood vessel in the brain where it can measure electrical signals from the brain cells.
What could possibly go wrong? Non-invasive.
Oh, man. How is that non-invasive? They stick it in your jugular vein, man.
Yeah, that sounds kind of invasive. That just sounds a little invasive.
So listen, it's non-invasive and effective. Guys, you want this implant, okay? It's going to be so great. You're going to be able to walk to the store. So, preparing for human trials in 2018.
Oh, boy.
Now, I wonder, is this the way they do it?
It still says it's still unclear whether or not the stentrode will be able to pick up meaningful signals in the brains of humans.
I wonder if this is the way they do it in the deep black. If they stick a thing in your jugular, and it goes to your brain.
Probably. It sounds...
Because I don't think really these people that have brain implants or claim to have brain implants, whatever, there's no real evidence of something being inserted, right?
Right.
So, I mean, I guess it would
Like,
have to
it's
go
something-
in some other way, up their nose or...
It's something they could, yeah, at the very least, they could pull it out and there'd be no evidence that... Maybe that's what they mean by non-invasive. It means we can pull one out of you and there's no evidence that it was ever there in the first place.
Awesome. That's just what they need. What's Hydra up to these days?
The whole thing about drones. Basically, this article it says if you're gonna invest money in anything and you're investing money into the business end of the military-industrial complex, invest in drones. You're gonna make money. And this is coming from a company called Kratos Management. And the article basically reads that drones are the future of warfare. So if you're going to pump money into the military-industrial complex, might as well invest in drones.
Man,
Isn't that fun?
It's bad because, and they keep taking the human factor out. You literally could train a bunch of people to type in numbers, right? Stick them in a trailer somewhere, feed them the numbers to type in, and they'd be unwittingly, drone striking a wedding.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They wouldn't. They just... Someone gives the order, someone does it, don't even know what the hell they're doing, can't complain about it, don't know what they're doing, knows they're not allowed to ask what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So... You wonder how something like that can happen. Well, people are good. Well, yeah, there are a lot of good people out there. There are some evil, sick fucks, too. But there are a lot of good people out there. And, they would complain about it. But they wouldn't even know. They wouldn't even necessarily have to know what the hell they're doing. They don't have to fly the drone, see the target. All they got to do is hit the button. Put the numbers in. Hit the button. While back, a friend of mine that was in the National Guard was telling me about this helicopter drone they have that's got these 2 shotguns on the side of it.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got a guy in a command bunker, truck, whatever, wherever he's at. And they fly the drone over there. It's got all these cameras on it. They pick the people they want in the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
And then they tell it to go. And it will kill them. It will hunt them the fuck down and kill them. It will chase them all over, and it will kill the shit out of them with these shotguns. And the other thing about it is they can land the drone and take the shotguns off. They're like automatic shotguns. And take them off and use them. I mean, I guess... I don't know, man. War. It's nasty shit, dude.
Yeah, it
But
definitely is.
the thing about it is it never stays just war. Anyway,
War, what is it good for? Defense contractors.
the war always comes home. Why else do the police get military surplus equipment? The war always comes home, man. This country isn't what they lead you to believe it is, man.
Nope.
It's not. You're not free. You don't vote. I mean, your voice doesn't matter. And they're gearing up to make it completely fucking crazy, man. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. It's out there, man. I'm not even going to go into it. This ain't Ron in the Hills. But it's just crazy, man. Get me off this.
Yeah, if you want to sink your money into the military-industrial complex, bet on drones.
But another interesting piece,
Something
tech
else you
news,
should bet on
is spinal injury patients could regain mobility through brain-computer interfaces.
Mm-hmm.
Again, look.
Well, I genuinely wish that this was available on the market right now because, I have a brother who's paralyzed from the waist, from the waist down due to a roofing accident.
I mean, that's great.
This kind of stuff would change his life.
That's great. They can help people walk again and stuff like that. But the point being, we're literally a stone's throw away from fucking Skynet, man. And that is how I am convinced we're all going to fucking die by Skynet, man.
Either that or it's all a simulation.
Or, exactly, 80% NPC.
Yeah, well, like we were talking about earlier, to me, that's teetering dangerously close to solipsism, which is, the philosophical idea that you're real and nobody else or anything else is.
So that just, like, crazy.
But what if it's true, though? Nevertheless, like...
Well, who's the real one, then? Am I the real one, or are you the real one? Because we both can't be real, so there can only be... This fucking shit doesn't even make any sense,
I know I'm real.
I don't know if I'm real or not.
There you go.
I might actually just be...
Maybe you're
simulation.
the NPC.
It's a good possibility, man.
Maybe I'm an NPC.
I didn't come with good equipment, either.
All right, well...
You know what I mean? Yeah, you get an NPC, at least comes with a good...
decent gear.
Bow and arrow or sword or something.
Oh
my God, what the hell are we talking about?
It's part of leveling up, huh?
So, I mean, it is pretty interesting, though, and it's nice that they can do this type of shit now. It's just, it never gets used for the right reasons. You know what I mean? And when it does, you have to be, goddammit, David Rockefeller to get it.
We have given you back your ability to walk. Now you will kill for us. That kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so,
I could definitely see that happening. Like, people get injured on Black Ops missions, and, they give you your ability to walk back, but now you have to do even more horrible things.
What's this you got?
Oh, that a recent celestial census indicates that black holes pervade the universe. Apparently there's way more black holes than they previously imagined.
I'm so sick of these fucking people and their black holes, man, because they can't make up their goddamn mind whether they even exist or not. Now they're saying there's 1 million of them.
Yeah, there's way more than they previously thought. Could be 100 million black holes.
Well, didn't they just previously
alone.
think that there wasn't any?
No.
God,
no, nobody's ever said there's no such thing as black holes.
Look at these guys.
I mean, looks like they know what they're talking about to me, man. If you can show me evidence that says that there are, tens of millions of black holes floating around the galaxy, you can show me where they are. Okay, cool.
All right, so what's the evidence then?
I guess just recent sky surveys that they've taken.
Cosmic inventory, calculated and categorized. So, that quasars.
Yeah,
right.
Well, quasars are distant galaxies. Quasars are galaxies of their own. This is talking about stellar mass black holes in our own galaxy.
No, listen to this. Quasars have been observed to be traveling faster than the speed of light.
Yeah.
Through the Doppler effect.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's also been postulated that they come out the other side of a black hole.
As far as I know, quasars are galaxies themselves with massive black holes at their centers that are just active black holes that are blowing huge clouds and streams of radiation out into space.
But doesn't a black hole suck?
Well, stuff basically falls into it by the gravitation, and sometimes there's more stuff that can, it can be swallowing so much stuff that the forces around the outside of it blow some of that stuff back out into space.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think the other side of the black hole goes?
I would posit that the surface of a black hole, the surface of a singularity, would be like, how we're in a 3-dimensional universe right now that's stuck at one point in time. That the black hole itself may be a 2-dimensional universe. Or a lower dimensional universe in our own.
Lower dimensional?
Yeah, and in which case our universe is actually a black hole in a 4-dimensional universe.
Wow, man. Now you're blowing my mind about the artificial intelligence.
Mm-hmm. I'm saying, weirder theories are possible. But yeah, they say that, Yeah, they're saying that 0.1 to 1% of the black holes have formed close enough to merge, because just recently they built that LIGO thing that was detecting gravitational waves, and now apparently they're detecting gravitational waves from all over the place, which means to say that black hole mergers like that are actually pretty common. And if that's the case, there's got to be a shitload of black holes out there. So, yeah, I think that's pretty rad.
Yeah.
Black holes are something that have always kind of, held my interest. And that goes into something else that they just found. They've actually observed effects of general relativity at play around Sagittarius A in the center of our own galaxy.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
What was this new device can heal with a single touch?
Yeah.
And even repair brain injuries?
Yeah, that seems pretty rad.
So it was developed at Ohio State University, and it can start healing organs in a fraction of a second. Technology known as tissue nanotransplantation, TNT, has the potential to save lives of car crash victims and even deployed soldiers injured and in sight. Its dime-sized silicone chip injects genetic code into skin cells, turning those skin cells into other types of cells required for treating disease conditions.
Hey, that's pretty rad.
In lab tests, one touch of TNT completely repaired injured legs of mice over 3 weeks by turning skin cells into vascular cells. Holy shit, man.
See, I think that's secret space program tech that's coming out
Yeah, no doubt, man.
into the public.
Like a really weak, watered-down basis version of it. You know what I mean? The regeneration tanks.
Yeah. Like, now we're gonna put it on a chip and take one of the chips out of the regeneration tanks and show you, hey, if we put this on a rat, it'll heal its leg. So, we're doing this
It's
stuff.
like the same basic technology. Like, I mean, I don't think I've ever heard a description on exactly how that technology works. It's just always, they put us in there. So
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see the how.
they're talking about human testing within a year.
Awesome.
Wow. It's incredible, man.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's a very interesting time to be alive.
It is. It definitely is. Well, it is getting to that time. So, guys, I want to thank you for listening, sticking with us through that train wreck. But we'll be back again next week, and who knows what we'll talk about. It could be anything. Could be we might just get up here and play the Kremlin game for 2 hours.
Somebody from our chat says solipsism works just fine for me.
Oh, okay. Well, guess what? I'm the one that's real, not you.
No, me. I'm the one that's
I'm the
real.
one that's real, not you.
You're all figments.
Random
of my
guy in the
imagination.
chat room, I don't even care.
Yeah,
I'm the real one.
you are made up.
So anyway, like I said, that concludes another wonderful broadcast, and we will be back next week. But without further ado, we will premiere the final version.
One of the Kruger.
Whoa, Penny, stop talking already. This is the final part of the Penny Bradley interview. And if you haven't watched the rest of them, I urge you to do so. You can find them on the YouTube channel. 6 parts in total. She goes through everything she can remember about, currently about her service and her time, how it all went. And part 6 is about the alters that you end up with, from the mind-based trauma. And, reintegrating them. So I hope you guys enjoy this. It was fun to do.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for hanging out.
And we'll see you next week.
One of the Kruger alters is a shuttle pilot that her job is to make sure that the space critters don't get the shuttle. That's her only that's it. She drives back and forth between Mars and the Moon all the time. I don't know if you know James Rink, but he knows that alter. I don't know what her name is. Then there's another one that I call her Starbuck because she's got that attitude. Starbuck from Battlestar Galactica. And she's a fighter pilot in space and a mercenary and at least one of the other admins in the SSP group.
Sorry, guys. I'm going to start that over.
One of the Kruger alters is a shuttle pilot that her job is to make sure that the space critters don't get the shuttle. That's her only that's it. She drives back and forth between Mars and the moon all the time. I don't know if you know James Rink, but he knows that alter. I don't know what her name is. Then there's another one that I call her Starbuck because she's got that attitude, Starbuck from Battlestar Galactica. And she's a fighter pilot in space and a mercenary, and at least one of the other admins in the SSP group knows her and describes her as really rough. And I've seen her. I woke up inside her, and she has augments. She's the one that has the surgically implanted exoskeleton, and she has a chip to fly the plane, and she has a chip here that gives her the visual readout. But she's still mostly human. And then the one for Monarch, she was a sex slave on Mars at the same time that I was serving there. She's not there anymore. I've been able to, I haven't been able to reintegrate her, but I've been able to find out she's no longer active. And those are the ones I know about, the ones that have bled through. That's one of the problems with this, is you have so many alters that you don't even know what they're doing. You don't know what you're being used for. You don't know why you wake up exhausted. Well, hell, you were gone for 50 years, maybe 4 times, all in the same night. Okay, the German alter. My human personality is generally a much more soft-spoken person. Penelope Valkyrin is aggressive. She's not shy. She doesn't take shit off of anybody. And the German she spoke was not High German, like what's taught in schools here. It was Schwabian German. On Earth, it's considered a hillbilly language. She cussed more than anything else. I'm sure she had to speak actual German to her higher-ups. But most of the memories that she has are a lot of swear words and this dialect that I haven't been able to learn. When I did take German in school on Earth, I had 2 separate teachers tell me I had a Schwabian accent in German, and they didn't know how I did that. Well, now I know how I did that. One of them was an American whose parents were from the Swiss region, but he had learned High German. And the other one had been a Luftwaffe officer in World War II, and he was from Berlin, and he spoke High German, and he was like, how are you speaking with a Schwabian accent? How did this happen? I don't know. Well, now I know. Penelope spoke Schwabian. It's making it a little harder to figure out what she's talking about. But she's learning English, American version, faster than I'm learning what she spoke. So we're getting to where we can kind of communicate. Now, this is something that really needs to be addressed. When you're dealing with an altar, it's you, but it's not you. You don't share memories, and experience is a lot of what makes you who you are. So when you come into this reintegration period, you start to share memories, but you're still like separate people. And each one has an awareness. And there's a bit of a struggle as to which ego is going to be dominant. It takes a while, especially when you have someone like Penelope who is aggressive and trained to become dominant. And there are times that she'll slip out on me, and I almost get this glee from her about, I got to play. We are in the dance, and we're a lot farther along in the dance than, okay, she popped up last September. The memories started coming before she did. When I realized it was an altar and that she had been military and that she was Teutonic, I warned Lou. I said, you know, we've been through this reintegration before. This is what's happening. And he says, okay. So you got to give him kudos because he's been putting up with, I've reintegrated 28 altars, and the dance has gone pretty well with most of them. Penelope's a little more dominant than the others have been. So we're working on that one. Sorry. I've been accused of doing that.
Doing what?
I used to be in an online support group for people while I was trying to get this stuff straightened out. And I was asked to leave because when I would start getting upset, remembering things, it would mess with the other people's electronics. So, yeah. The other thing that happens is when I talk about things that the CIA doesn't want me to talk about, they interfere with the connection. Yeah, at least you've got it on record. Yeah. The other people never recorded it, and then when I talked about it, it was like, oh, you're nuts. That can't happen. Well, yeah, it can. It does. If they don't want something out there, they find a way to interfere. Mm-hmm. I've gotten far enough along on the free will thing that they can't actually shut me up. There for a while, they would actually just, my voice would stop.
Wow.
I could not even get the words out. Now I can speak it, they just interfere with other people hearing it. And I know that sounds terribly, terribly paranoid, and you wouldn't have believed it except you're seeing it happen. So, yeah, that's what happens.
beneath us.